Let's talk about standards now, shall we? And we, every time we talk about standards and especially importing of goods, right now during this fight against COVID-19, everything has to. We've been hearing the word, the name KEBS being introduced. Talk about coming up with face masks, local production of PPEs, local production of beds. They companies that won tenders. In fact, the president even ordered that some guys somewhere in Kiambu County who had started making beds, let them be given this opportunity to produce beds and supply beds to hospitals for COVID-19. And the next thing they were told is, all right, what you need is to go to KEBS, get certified, and then now you can supply. So every time we talk about all these things, we talk about KEBS certification. When you hear about market raids, the other day there was a raid in the supermarkets of some certain brands of maize meal because they had not met some certain standards. You hear about aflatoxin in our foods, and the issue comes in KEBS and the standards. And then you hear the other day there was the issue of the imported edible oils. Remember that scandal of the edible oils, and who has released the edible oils, who has not released the edible oils,
and who had detained them
in the first place. There's the issue of, have they met standards? There is the issue of importation. When you're importing anything, it needs to be inspected before it departs from that market into the Kenyan market to show that it conforms to the standards that are applicable in this country, right? And this is the pre-shipment verification that comes in, the pre-verification of conformity arriving in the country. All those things are issues that Kenya Bureau of Standards deals with on a daily basis. And of course, because of all that, then you will have a lot of back and forth, a lot of fights, a lot of people who are complaining that KEBS is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, or some people who are complaining that KEBS officers have raided their premises and carted away everything without due cause. All this happens on a daily basis.
It seems mysterious, and yet part of the reason maybe most people don't understand what KEBS does. We know they're supposed to maintain certain standards, but the thing is, for instance, what are the standards for, say, timber goods? What are the standards for edible goods, edible oils? What are the standards? And if one wanted to determine this, where would one go to get and understand what these standards are, and how are they determined?
And whoever comes up with these standards.
Yes, exactly. And what rule of thumb are they following? These are questions that people may not voice, but they ask and they say, okay, so how do we know that these standards they have set are the standards that we... All these questions. Again, KEBS haven't done a very good job of telling people what they do. What we know of them is what we read, and what we read is them seizing this, doing the other, and also...
Or their MD being arrested.
Yes, or removed.
Or removed.
That's what we know.
Or the board being reconstituted.
Yes, and yet for them to be there, it actually means that their function is one that is actually necessary.
Yeah.
And is needed.
It's a critical one.
It is a critical one. See, it's like the functions of the police. We have a fairly clear what they should do, but we also know what they do, or what the majority of them are reported to do. So, KEBS, unfortunately, falls in that category. The only good fortune about KEBS is that the people they deal with are people who bring in goods, people whose goods, they don't deal directly with the Mwananchi, yet their actions affect the lives of the Mwananchi very directly. So,
or do they deal directly with the Mwananchi?
They do. Not directly, indirectly. It's indirectly. Because, for instance, when I go to a shop and I want to buy an item and I see that KEBS logo or sticker, I assume it has been certified as safe. I automatically, I don't question.
And you assume that this is genuine and authentic.
And I also assume that it's genuine KEBS.
Yeah.
Okay? Assuming that there is a fake KEBS somewhere. Or there are people who attempt to
Or that
fake.
they're fake stickers.
Yes, exactly. But I will assume it is safe. Right? That is the effect it has on me. Meaning, I may not even voice it, but I trust them. I have faith in what they do. Now, but whenever I keep reading articles in the papers about all these misdeeds, and I start wondering, goodness, how safe really am I? Because with all these things happening, the problem that amount of information, especially when it's negative, I'm not really sure what to believe and what not to.
You have very many questions. So let's just ask the boss. The managing director of the Kenya Bureau of Standards, retired Lieutenant Colonel Bernard Njiraini, is joining us on the line now. Good morning, sir.
How are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I hope I'm loud and clear.
You are
Yes, you are, sir.
You are loud and clear. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me to this radio show.
Right.
I hope I got you clear. You are Eric, City, and Okor.
Thank you.
That is true.
Yes.
So,
Thank you very much.
Njiraini, let's start from the very beginning. And as you heard in our introduction, there are very many people who, first of all, they know that there's KEBS and there's KEBS stickers and there's KEBS, enforces some standards. But just give us a quick explanation and a description of what KEBS actually does.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to this radio talk show to discuss the topic issues that affect the public. And what you've said is, and have listened to your discussion, I want to maybe say in a very brief way what is our mandate. And our mandate is development of standards. And standards, there are very many levels of standards, starting with the manufacturer standard, the Kenyan standard, we have regional standards, we have international standards developed by the International Organization for Standardization. So we develop all the standards, we adopt standards, and we have mutual recognition of standards within the ESC region. So we also do metrology, that is the science of measurements, maintenance of measurement standards, as well as conformity assessment. And that entails verification of conformity to standards for goods that are coming from abroad. And we also do certification for goods that are manufactured within the country and issue the quality marks, that is the S mark, the D mark, and also the fortification mark. So that is what we do. Generally, we undertake testing, calibration. We also do training on standardization. We also now do conformity assessment. Basically, that is what we do as KEBS. We are a creature of the Standard Act, Chapter 496 of the laws of Kenya. So that is how we are constituted. Basically, we are an integrated. We have conformity assessment, metrology, and conformity assessment. So that is how we are structured.
When one thinks of the standards that you go ahead to enforce and all, the other question would be, who comes up with these standards? Let's talk about directly. Let's talk about the face masks, because that's what we're dealing with right now. And KEBS has come out to say, now these are the face masks that you can use, and these are the safe face masks. Who comes up with those standards for the face masks?
Thank you very much for that question. Standards are developed through a consensus way. We have a technical committee that is constituted through a very open way, where we advertise in the daily, in the print media, and we invite the stakeholders to join as members the experts to be developing these standards. And as the technical committees now start looking at the various standards, they will recommend for their approval. So there are 6 stages that we have before the standard is finally gazetted or published. So, for example, the standards we have for medical grade face mask, we have KS 26.6, and this is a standard that has been developed by quite a number of research organizations, universities, other stakeholders, like, for example, the medical practitioners, and they come up with the specifications that will now be used in that standard.
I mean, looking at all this, it's clear that, you've put up barriers to getting lower standard or standard less products into the market. But somehow things seem to find themselves on the shelves or in the market that are below these standards that could actually cause some harm to individuals. What happens and how do they get through the nets?
Yes, like I've said, we have 3 layers of inspection to ensure that there is high level of products within the country. One, we have the PVOC program, that is pre-export verification of conformity to standard, and we have engaged contracted third-party partners that are stationed in the country of origin. They do conformity assessment, and they issue certificate of conformity to product before they are shipped into the country. So anything that comes either through JKIA, ICDN, or Mombasa, or any other border points within the country must be accompanied by a certificate of conformity indicating compliance to standards. And thereafter, at the border point, we do undertake risk-based random sampling to ascertain these products are meeting the minimum specifications as required by the standard. Thereafter, when they go now to the stores, the supermarket, we have market surveillance department. So our people, officers, would go to the supermarket, pick products randomly, and bring for testing in our laboratories. So that is the structure that we have to ascertain the quality of the product coming into the country.
Okay.
And also those that are also manufactured within the country. There are means we have for, first of all, testing whether the quality marks that they have are valid by sending a certain code to 223, and then you get a response indicating the validity of that quality mark that has been issued there. So that is how we are able to confirm that these products are okay.
So if you have this random, I'm just going to stick on that point, because if you have this random surveillance, for example, in specific supermarkets across board,
Yes.
so until and unless there's that happens, the likelihood then of substandard products still being bought by, the general public and then being consumed at home then still remains high. Because if you don't have that surveillance taking place every day, for example, or once a month, or, 3 times in a quarter, then there's still chances that there are substandard goods out in the market. Can you really say that there's a handle on everything at any given time?
Let me see that we are running a campaign to enjoin the general public in our campaign to eradicate substandard products. This campaign, we called it as Wajibika na KEBS, where we expect the public to join us as our partners to be able to minimize the substandards that are out in the market. In the recent past, in the very few months that we've been there, we've been able to undertake surveillance of peanut butter in terms of checking their aflatoxin levels. We have withdrawn permits for manufacturers that were operating above the threshold that is required, that is 15 ppb. The mattresses, we've been able to also do market surveillance and withdrawn the permits for them. The maize flour, you are aware, we've done, I think we are in the 5th cycle in a few months, non-woven bags for packaging, ceramic tiles, we've done that. For cosmetics, we've done hand sanitizers. You've seen we've drawn, certain sanitizers that were not meeting the threshold for the alcohol content and antibacterial efficacy levels. Face mask, you've seen for milk. We are currently now having a plan for animal feed, cement, steels, structural steels.
But I guess the question is, just to interject
and going way forward.
The question is, from your own experience, from your surveillance, from your intelligence gathering, how is it that these products find their way into the market? How do they find their way onto the shelves? Because yes, we can help you fight this by sending the SMSs and verifying the authenticity of their mark. But How have you established how they end up onto the shelves? What's the route?
Yes, I can explain what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Before a manufacturer starts manufacturing, it's a requirement by law from the Standard Act that you must have a quality mark. So we do what we conduct a product certification scheme that require manufacturers to establish quality assurance controls as defined in our scheme of supervision agreed between ourselves and the manufacturer. That before you manufacture, first of all, you'll be checking your raw materials, the in-process controls measures you have put to have established, and also post-process controls. And then we issue him with a certificate now to continue producing. We don't position our officers in his factory. And what we expect is, based on the agreement that we have with him, that he's going to be producing that product as per the specification as agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And thereafter, what happens is he has now the moral obligation to continue producing as per what we have agreed. And the only way we can now confirm that he's producing is occasional, random, and surprise visit to his establishment and find out whether the product we pick from the market are conforming to that. And that is what we've been doing in the recent past. And you've seen that we are really aggressive in terms of withdrawing products that are not conforming to the standards. That is how it works. But of course, there will be few elements. Sometimes manufacturers, because the profit sometimes is in cheating, they will not put the critical parameters that is required. For example, if you come to edible oil, you find there is a requirement that he has to fortify with vitamin A, because out of a study that was done, it was established that there is a deficiency of that vitamin within the population, and the vehicle that can be able to transport or contain that element is the vitamin A, because it's a soluble, vitamin.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be people who will be cutting shortcuts, but we are soon going to get them, and we are doing it. Because once we withdraw your permit, you cannot continue manufacturing, and your reputation really goes down.
Are there instances where you've done the market surveillance and found products on the shelves whose manufacturer you don't even know, or whose manufacturer has never come to seek for certification from you?
Yes, surely that happens. There are manufacturers that operate without the S mark, the standardization mark. But what we do is we seize the product and we take them to court. This is common, but again, we are working with the associations. For example, Kenya Association of Manufacturers. We are working with the Supermarket Association. We are working with many stakeholders to try to educate the people the need to have the S mark. Remember, we are now having an integrated EAC integration, and the Common Market Protocol requires that we mutually recognize standards from the region. The only way we can increase our market, population is to also get the S mark so that we can sell in our neighboring countries, because they recognize our quality marks. And that is why we urge the SMEs to get the S mark.
Beyond this partnership that you have mentioned, what other ways does KEBS or what other means does KEBS have at its disposal for ensuring that the general public are informed about all these things that KEBS is all about?
Well, we have a very active Facebook, Twitter, and we are occasionally advertising this in the print media. We want to intensify these campaigns through a radio show like what we are doing today to educate the public the need to, first of all, check the quality mark on the product they are procuring. That before you consume something, it is good you look at the label and confirm whether there's a KEBS quality mark in that. And above that, you should be able to check whether the number there is valid in terms of when you send the response that you get confirms the date of manufacturer, who is manufacturing, or the details will be captured in the response that you'll be getting. So we are trying to reach out as many people as possible to understand the need to ascertain the level of quality of the product that they are buying.
But from what you've just said,
yes,
we have a very small percentage of Kenyans who have access to social media. And they don't, yes, it's a very small percentage really, compared to those who don't have social media. How often do you use radios, for instance? How often, you're going to mention TVs, again, a very small number of Kenyans actually have access to TV. The one means of communication that many people have access to is a radio. How often do you use radio?
I now invite you to be our partner as the Spice Radio to pass this message across the country that KEBS is there and their top priority is protection of safety and health of the consumers. That is a message I would like you to pass across, that KEBS is there for them. We are not necessarily there to stop people producing, to block people, to be an obstacle, to be a trade barrier, but there to take care of their welfare.
Okay, I mean, just now from that, you're talking about being there for people. A couple of months ago, we saw, what was it, Eric? Chewable Mirror?
Yep.
Or something like that. And looking at this innovation and creation, now when you're talking about being there for people and not necessarily being a trade barrier, then there's also encouragement when it comes to business and entrepreneurship in this country. People have brilliant ideas, and normally, by the time they get to the place whereby they have crafted this scientifically, they've innovated, they've been creative, they get to the point where they want to bring it to the market. KEBS in the past, and maybe you probably tell us differently now, KEBS has been now the place where they come and stop in terms of approvals for their product to get to the market. Do you envision KEBS being a partner in business in this country, whereby beforehand you let people know what the standards are, what are certain things that you're looking for, partnering with businesses to make sure that yes, they come up with a product that meets all the standards, but at the same time encouraging more and more to be innovative with products that can be used in country?
Thank you. I want to say that one of our mandate is to facilitate trade. And the way we facilitate trade, one is develop standards. Because it's only through standards that you can automate, that there can be compatibility, repeatability, and what we call interoperability. That is creating something with a characteristic that can have, an interface, usability with and communicate with other gadgets, for example. And for businesses, and especially small, medium enterprises, we are encouraging them to come forward to get the S mark so that they can have a standard way of doing things. Because without standard, you cannot be able, for example, to make parts. For example, if you're making the medical bed, like, for example, the one that was innovated by some young men from Kiambu, it will require a caster wheel. And the caster wheel has a specific dimensions, maybe for fitting or fastening the bolts. So if you're making the caster wheel bracket without a standard, so you don't know even the measurement from one bolt to the other, the holes that you'll cut in that plate. If you don't, so there would be, if there's standard, there will be people who will just concentrate in making the bracket for fitting in the caster wheel. And that is a creation of employment. So we emphasize on standard. And for example, the product that you just mentioned, Mira, we are looking into a way of how we can facilitate that innovator to be able to produce that. But we have to, again, consider the legality of the issues surrounding the Mira. And as we are clear on that, of course, we are going to issue him with the S mark.
Let's talk about the pre-export verification of conformity. And there was a bit of a push and pull with the various companies and organizations, because at some point the Kenya Bureau of Standards in the middle of a contract, came up with a bid to expand the number of organizations that can provide this certification. First of all, for the benefit of everybody who's listening, what is pre-export verification of conformity?
Thank you. Pre-export verification of conformity to standard is a program for product verification and inspection before this product imported into our country. So is a program that we have engaged third-party partners on behalf of KEBS to be verifying the conformity to standards. These companies are basically out of the country, and we have a contract with them. What they do, they use the certificate of analysis from the manufacturer to ascertain whether that product meets the requirement, the test report for the machines, and they issue certificate of conformity, the COC, that we now are able to use because that we have now confidence that that product has been checked. So that is what the pre-shipment is all about. Mm-hmm. And this is, with KEBS does not pay any money. These are agents that we have enlisted out there to do inspection on our behalf. And they use the standard. They use ISO 17020, and that is the certification these companies have, demonstrating their capability and capacity to do that work. Mm-hmm. Of course, some of them have laboratories, but others, they also subcontract or outsource where they are not able to test themselves. So, based on that fact, that these companies, first of all, must be qualified. They have been certified by the ISO. So there's nothing junior, and you need as many companies as possible to ease the movement of goods. The purpose for having the PVOC program is to fast-track the importation process, which generally reduces the cost of doing business. You remember in 2018, out of the multi-agency, activities that resulted in quite a number of products being confirmed that were not meeting the requirements, there was a big issue. And then there was a policy now, let us try to intensify the tests that are done abroad. And as it was now very stringent, it was taking quite a long time before the products are brought into the country. And then we discovered there was a gap. We needed to increase the number of the inspectors abroad. Mm-hmm. And that is why we decided now we have to open up, because the contract that we had signed with the partners now that we had an undisclosure agreement allowing us to expand and increase as and when required. It is in the interest of the country.
Do those contractors pay KEBS any money?
Yes, of course. They charge the importers some fee, and they remit about 30% of that money to KEBS.
And is the fee that they charge to whoever wants to import the same?
It depends. We have different routes. For example, if the product is a bit risky, it's under Route A. They normally do 100% inspection. For certain products that are normally imported frequently and homogeneous in nature, they are under Category B, where they are registered, and they will do random checks. And then there's Route C for manufacturers, where they basically just verify whether those products are coming from established manufacturers. They have certificates of analysis, and they just issue them with a COC. So we have different routes, and each one of them has a different fee. For example, for manufacturers is 0.3%. For the other one, 0.55, and the other one 0.6 for Route A, I think. Yes.
back. We continue our conversation with Bernard Njiraini, the Managing Director of the Kenya Bureau of Standards. The Kenya Bureau of Standards is one organization where when things go wrong somewhere, you'll hear people talking about KEBS. That's the point when they'll say, where was KEBS when we're having aflatoxin? And especially when it comes to food stuff. And that's what we want to now talk about, Bernard Njiraini. When you talk about, food and food items, this is something that you say, yes, you had conducted a raid in the market and you were looking at peanut butter and looking at the level of aflatoxin in peanut butter. You also had a raid on maize flour in the market. Same about, the levels of aflatoxin in those. When it comes to this food stuff, and you're saying that, you'd like now the public to be able to work with you on this, how can I tell whether what's on the shelves is actually safe for consumption?
First and foremost, I want to assure Kenyans that Kenya Bureau of Standards is committed to ensure the level of safety of the product they are consuming is high. And that is why, like I have said, we have the PVOC program to test on the product that are coming into the country. We have our officers at the border point, again, doing random checks on this product to confirm that this product of the right quality. And we have our market surveillance department in the lookout, going in supermarkets, in the stores, picking up this product to take to our laboratories to test and establish whether they meet the requirements. Like I have said, we have certification scheme that requires now manufacturers to produce as per the agreement.
Mm-hmm. But as a consumer, just going straight into the answer to this question, as a consumer, how can I tell?
The first thing that a consumer should check is he should check whether there's a quality mark, KEBS mark in that product. After that, he should read a number that is underneath there. That is the permit number. Mm-hmm. If you check that number, you're supposed to. If you send that number to 223, you are going to get a response, and that response is going to indicate the validity of that product in terms of the manufacturer and other details that are there. If it fails to give you a response, unless there is a system failure on our side, then that product is not certified. And that is the first step that we should now, try to see whether that product
is this number given to a manufacturer or is it given per unit?
It is given per product, not that every product has a unique. If it is, for example, a certain food product, if you talk peanut butter, a certain brand will have the same number.
So it's not going to be per batch. It's actually going to be per product. So as long as
it's per product,
this
per product.
Eric Latif has a production planned for peanut butter, and I came and once received the certification, I have the same number.
Yes.
So this batch and the next batch, how can I verify that the future batches will conform?
What I can say is that working together with the other regulators and also Kenya Revenue Authority, we are coming up with a more advanced standardization quality mark that will have more security features for trace and track capability with different layers of security, where a customer can use his smartphone to scan the QR code and get more details with specific identification number for a particular product. Even if it is a bottle of wine, the same batch, but will have different numbers. So that is something that is work ongoing to come up with that ISM mark, that is a quality mark, sticker
Just
and
going a
we are
little bit
working
further
together.
into the nitty-gritty, because if I bring a product to
Yes.
KEBS today and I'm asking for the standardization mark, so there's certain
Yes.
processes that I must go through. You're checking, you come and check where I am producing this product, and you give me the okay based on the sample that I bring to you.
Yes.
This product now goes onto the shelf.
Yes.
In the future, should
Yes.
CT, my colleague, buy this product and send now the permit number, is what you called it, the permit code, to 223?
Yes.
Regardless of what I brought to you as a sample, vis-a-vis what is on the shelf, he's going to get a response saying that this product is okay, registered under KEBS. Meanwhile, it is not the same as what came to the sample. I think that's where we are getting to now. How can we make
Yes.
sure that whatever product I put on the shelf in the future still meets the standards that you gave the mark when I came with a sample?
Well, what I can see is that it is the responsibility of the manufacturer to ensure that he's producing as per the standard. And Section 10 of our Act compels him to do that. And that is why our market surveillance officers will occasionally pick the product from the shelves and bring to our laboratory for test.
Okay.
And that is the only way we can enforce these. But largely, what I can say is it is the responsibility of manufacturer to confirm that is producing as per the standard. Okay. Again, you have to look at it this way, that the manufacturer's intent is to increase his market base.
Yep.
Of course, if he produces a poor product, of course, he's likely to lose the market. Yes, that is the rationale, and that's what happens elsewhere. Responsibility to ensure the product meets the requirement lies with the manufacturer.
Okay.
Ours is there to facilitate him do that.
Okay. I'm assuming that all these services that KEBS provide, not for free.
Yes.
So,
yes.
How much money does KEBS generate on a yearly basis, and how much of this money is for its operational costs, and how much of it goes to the exchequer?
I may not have specific details as of now, but what we do is we charge a small fee to manufacturers, that is 0.2% of their revenue for our, standardization work, because as a regulator, we don't get any government funding. So we generate money out of the levies, small levies that we collect, that is 0.2%, and the with an upper limit of 400,000, even if you are to produce your output is so huge, your upper limit you can pay is 400,000. So our budget ranges between 4 billion to thereabout, and operational costs, we move a lot in market surveillance, in standardization work. We have to travel, get certification, and all that. So basically, and any suppliers that we do declare, we meet with the government.
All right. So we want to thank you very much for speaking to us today, Bwana Njiraini. This is Bwana Njiraini. He's the Managing Director of the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Thank you for speaking to us. We'll have more conversations with you, especially once you want to engage further on the matter of educating the public, on creating awareness, on how the public can then also engage and reach out to you. If, for example, I send that message and I don't receive the particular response that I expect to receive, then what should I do, or how can I get in touch with KEBS? All this is information that, like you said, you are already engaging with the consumers on this, and you'll be expanding this conversation with the consumers. And of course, we'll have you again to expand this conversation with the consumers on this particular matter. Asante sana for speaking to us.
Thank you very much, and we want you to be our ambassador to spread the message that KEBS is there for the Kenyans, and to ensure the products that are there in the market are of the right quality for a group of our economy, and especially now that we want our economy to peak. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.